Hello everyone. You may notice that the camera quality is suddenly shit again. That is because I am recording on my MacBook because I forgot to charge the batteries on my nice camera. And so here I am, the place that I am always at when I record these videos for myself, the ones that I have never posted online ever, just at my desk. I have some notes here for once. It's not a script, but today we're going to be talking about why I like solo traveling so much and all the things that it has done for me. This was a video that I already knew as soon as I started this YouTube channel that I wanted to make, primarily because unfortunately solo traveling is almost like my personality now. Another thing I like is to spread the idea that solo traveling is one of the best things that you can ever do in your entire life. First, to get out of the way, I recognize that solo traveling is a privilege and that for me to be able to do this at 20, I'm 22 now, but I started when I was 20. To be able to afford doing these trips is a huge privilege. And to get it straight out of the way, the only way that I can afford this is thanks to UCF and the money that they give me every single semester. So that's that out of the way. Let's talk about solo traveling. I have a list of reasons here because I know I'm going to get sidetracked for sure. So let's start with the first one. Solo traveling kind of makes you appreciate your hometown a little more. Now, I recognize that this can vary depending on where you live. For the record, I live in Orlando, Florida. And, from the get-go, even before I started solo traveling, I didn't necessarily hate Orlando, but I didn't love it either. It's kind of just like a meh place. Orlando's kind of only known for Disney, and that's about it. If you say that you're from Florida, people usually tend to think that you're from Miami. But Orlando doesn't really have much going for it other than Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, I guess. So yeah, I didn't think much of it. Then I started traveling, and then I recognized how nice Orlando is. Orlando has a lot of really good food. Okay, to preface, all right, some of the, I guess maybe I can put a list of cities right here that I've been to. Not necessarily solo, but all the places that I've been to in general, because solo traveling not only is just of course solo traveling means that you went to these places by yourself, but I also want to open this to the broader subject of traveling in general, and not traveling for leisure, like just to blow all your money to go on a beach and stay in a very nice hotel that's away from all civilization just to like have the time of your life by yourself. I mean, like immersing yourself in the culture and discovering new places on the earth. So I guess a more specific example is when I was in Connecticut for a few months for an internship. Connecticut's very boring. And so when I came back from Connecticut, I recognized how awesome Orlando is. We have a lot of really good food, especially Asian food. Like, you'd be surprised. Obviously, it's not like LA level, San Francisco, New York level. Obviously not. But we have some pretty good stuff. Also, on top of that, I know I mentioned Disney and Universal. I don't go there anymore because I've been there enough times and it's expensive, but it's nice to know that it's there. So yeah, I just appreciate my hometown a lot more. But anyways, I have come to Orlando a lot. I've come to like Orlando a lot more after visiting and seeing what other cities have to offer in different parts of the world. Second, and this is a big one, the fulfillment of meeting relatable people that can be your friend that come from totally different backgrounds. It's easier to make friends while you travel if you're by yourself, especially if you stay in hostels, because everyone else is by themselves. And meeting other solo traveler is super easy because there's no one in any friend groups, there's no cliques, you don't have to worry about that. You pretty much just go in, everyone's by themselves, and everyone's super open to making new friends. And there is a different kind of fulfillment that you get when you meet someone that you can relate to and someone that you would be like, yeah, I love this person and I would love to be friends with them. But then they're from a totally different country, from a totally different background. And it just makes you think like, wow, there are people with that have the same thoughts as me, that think the same way as me, that enjoy the same things, and we have a lot of things in common, but they're from a totally different country, raised with a totally different culture and a totally different background. And to me, when you meet someone like that, it's like when the stars align. A notable example of this is when I went to Portugal and went to London. So both in Portugal and London, I have met some amazing people at my hostel, and I still am connected with them to this day. They were so awesome. I don't even know what to say. Like these are people that I would totally become friends with if they lived in Orlando, but these people are I met people from Switzerland, I met someone from Argentina, I met someone from Japan, I met someone from Brussels, like they're from all over the place. I met so many different people from totally different backgrounds, and there's just a totally different feeling of like getting along with someone that comes from a totally different background. I know I keep repeating it, but there just really is no feeling in the world like it. And I think that's kind of the number one reason why I love solo traveling so much, is meeting new people and seeing how their thought processes are like. Because when you're in America and you're here for a long time, you live in a bubble. And, you know, despite America being as divided as it is right now, I think it's safe to say that a lot of Americans kind of think the same way, generally, when you compare them to different countries, especially in the East, like in Asia, or in the Middle East, or in Africa. Everyone like kind of thinks somewhat along the same page within their respective countries, you know, generally, very, very generally. And so to meet people from different countries that think different things in a totally different way is just, it's awesome. I'm not going to drag that out any longer because I don't know how I'm going to explain it. But next reason why I like solo traveling, increased open-mindedness. So this one goes without saying that when you visit a different country and you experience a different culture, you tend to be more open-minded when you come back. When you come back to America, you realize what kind of lives people are living outside of America, and that can make you A, jealous, or make you B, grateful. So, perfect example. Europe has a very great education system. They also don't have problems with their health insurance. We can get into a whole conversation about that, but that's something that I would be jealous of when I come back from my trip. But coming back, there are things that I'm very grateful for when I come back, like, for instance, being grateful for the city that I live in, being grateful for all the friends that I have and that I'm surrounded by 24/7. Because obviously, when you solo travel, you won't meet, everyone that you meet won't be the most savory people ever. And so when you get back, you realize that you have surrounded yourself with really good people, and it's made you very grateful that everyone that you come back home to is someone that you love and someone that you really appreciate. Yeah, just increased open-mindedness. Even about like different things, like different things that people do as part of their religion, different things that people do because of their culture. Like, just for instance, Japan has a lot of social rules, and I know that a lot of Americans know that now at this point, thanks to Instagram. You become very open-minded to like what is considered normal in different countries and what might not be normal here. It's like, for instance, in Japan, no one would ever walk outside with their pajamas on. But here, it's so easy to just go to class in your pajamas. Like, I could wear what I'm wearing right now, like a hoodie and some sweatpants and some slides, and I'd be good to go for college. But you would not wear that in Asia. Another one is, this is a huge one, increased hope in humanity. So when you're on Instagram and when you're on TikTok and especially Twitter, you will lose all your hope in humanity, because the things that go viral are the things that are bad. On the news all the time, you'll just hear the most depressing things. That's why I don't read the news anymore. You'll hear the most depressing things, especially in the political space. A lot of things are happening that you don't agree with. All the news tends to be on like the most depressing things in the world, like genocide here, like really bad crimes happening in different countries, or plane crashes and you start getting scared of planes and like stuff like that. But then when you travel and you actually talk to people from those countries, you realize that, oh my God, everyone is just a human, and that all these things, all these political things, are just problems that exist at a government level for the most part. Okay, this is gonna get very controversial, I think. Hello, Darren from the future here, editing this video. I explained this really horribly, but what I'm trying to say here is that there is a totally happy humanity that lives outside of all the bad news that is happening. And yes, while the bad news is really bad and that we should act on it, I just want to highlight that the world as a whole is not depressed because of the bad news, and that there is a whole other half of the world that's living a very happy life. So that's what I wanted to say. You realize that people are actually happy, and that the sadness that you read all about on social media is not the majority, and that there's just so much out there, and that people are living amazing lives that are totally not what you're living right now, and just, yeah. Anyways, I feel like I have so much faith in humanity after doing all these solo travels, because I know social media and media in general will just over-exaggerate and make it sound horrible. And yes, I will not discount the fact that there are some horrible things going on in the world right now. But the entire world is not horrible, and it's important to recognize that not every human is bad. That's the main thing. So yeah, those are like my big emotional reasons why I like solo traveling so much. I could go on and on if I just keep thinking. It's hard to vocalize how much I love solo travel. But I guess we can go into the more lamer reasons. One, for me, it tends to be cheaper. And this might be a little bit shocking, especially if you go to Asia. I think things will be cheaper because, first of all, you have to be open to staying at hostels, because that's how you save money. And plus, hostels are how you meet all these awesome people anyways. So, highly recommend. But anyways, I can save that for a different video. I think it tends to be cheaper, personally. In my case, at least, I don't eat a lot. So when I'm abroad, especially like when I was in Japan, I pretty much would just eat like one baked good from a convenience store for breakfast and then have a very light lunch and just eat. Like, I'm not very picky when it comes to food if I'm by myself. I can also choose when to skip meals if I want. I don't have to rely on if other people feel like eating, if they don't want to eat, and stuff like that. Second, it's way easier to plan itineraries because you don't have to worry about anyone else's preferences. You just write down whatever the hell you want to do and you can make it happen. Another, flexibility. So when I went to Europe, I was in Barcelona and I didn't really like it that much. So I literally, I had maybe 3 more days in Barcelona. I decided I didn't want to do it. And I bought a plane ticket literally for the very next day, which was Christmas Day. And I woke up Christmas Day, took a plane and flew from Barcelona to London, and ended up spending way more time in London. I even extended my hostel stay in London because I loved it so much. And because I met some friends that were awesome and I just wanted to keep hanging out with them. Yeah, so you're very flexible. You can change the trip on a whim if you want to because you don't have to worry about any of the other people in your party. Yeah, I mean, those are and for me, those 2 reasons are huge. Like those have a lot of weight behind them. Obviously, the main drawback of traveling by yourself is that you don't have any friends. And the feeling of loneliness will skyrocket if you're in a country that doesn't speak your native language. But once you get over that, I know that's a huge con, but once you get over that, you are in bliss for the rest of your trip. And yeah, that's pretty much, that's kind of why I like solo traveling so much. I don't intend to stop. Like I said, I just got back from a solo trip to Canada, and I think that was the best trip I've had so far, even better than Japan and even better than Europe. Yeah, that's why I like solo traveling so much. If I could convince you to solo travel, of course, if you have the money and the means to, I would absolutely do it. To all the college students out there, if you can find ways to afford it, I would say absolutely solo travel now while you have the chance and before you start working. Because once you start working, you have to scramble for PTO to be able to travel. And having that freedom in your early 20s while you're still in university is the perfect time to do it. And yes, I'm asking a lot because solo traveling is not cheap. For each trip I do, it costs about $2,000, including airfare and stuff like that. You can definitely find ways to save money. I can probably cover that in a future video, like how I solo travel, I guess. But highly recommend solo traveling to any college student or any young person. The time to do it is in your 20s. Absolutely, the time to do it is in your 20s because you get to learn all of these things at a younger age, and also you're very, you're kind of in prime shape, you're not gonna have, if you do it when you're older. So here's another thing. If you wait until you're old to do all your travels, my main concern is that, one, you'll have way less energy. Yes, you'll have way more money, but you'll have way less energy, and the adventure of solo traveling disappears because you're probably going to be spending all that money towards private hotels, and you're probably not going to be meeting anyone because I don't know how the making friends culture is when you're older. But when you're 20, you can kind of just get away with anything. So that's why I like solo traveling so much. Highly recommend it. I've already tried to convince all of my friends to do it, and the more people I convince to do it, the better. I think that's about it for this video. I would love to make videos on my specific trips. So my trip to Japan, my trip to Europe, and my trip to Canada. I'd love to make separate videos about those. So those probably will come next. But I'm thinking of editing those a lot more so that you can kind of really feel how those trips were. I want to add photos and stuff. So yeah, and maybe a video about how I solo travel and stuff like that. But the why is what's really important to me. So, and I hope that I got some of those ideas across. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time.